glasses in there somewhere.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
You're rapidly searching for your glasses, aren't you?
Oh, well, I'll have to box on without them, so you have to bear with me. No, that's all right. I'm just about to get there. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. Today I'd like to make a submission on the Hagley Oval delivery package, which comes in at $1,190,000 for this year. And I'd basically like to ask two questions about it. The first question being, what is the money for? I would imagine that good governance means that the council should know exactly where the money's going. They just don't hand over lump sums. And I'm puzzled as to what this is actually for, but as a clue, we have last year left over from the $1,055,000 spend on Hagley Oval were a couple of items. The first item was the embankment reshaping to optimise capacity and save money by not having to hire temporary seating. And I would think, is this a saving for cricket? And if it is, why aren't they paying for it? And or does council pay for the temporary seating? And if so, why? The second item would be foundations for camera towers and other structures. And once again, you have to say, what are these other structures and what foundations? Shouldn't this be clearly spelled out? The foundations for camera towers apparently will save time and money for Sky TV. Doesn't seem to be a priority for Christchurch ratepayers to save money for Sky TV. And I'm sure that lots of local community groups would find a better use for the money. I think you've got a queue of them here this morning. You've got the Santa Parade and dozens of others. They would all find that there's much better use for that $1 million than helping Sky TV. The second question that I would ask is, why are we spending the money? And it might be a more important question. If you compare how Tauranga's very successful international Bay Oval cricket stadium there is funded, the Tauranga City Council spend less than $100,000 a year to maintain the entire Blake Park complex of 22 wickets to a, what do they call it? A local level of service. And the local cricket trust, the Bay Oval Trust, spend the rest of the money to bring it up to international standard. Now, it seems to me Tauranga City Council have got it probably about right. And Christchurch ratepayers are paying way over the odds for what we've got. There's a lot of money generated at the Oval, but City Council are paying all the bills. I would have thought that had the Guardians of Hagley been established by now, and that's 2 council votes and 1 CEO's report, if they'd been established by now, they might have had a comment to make about this. But it hasn't happened, which I suppose is good news for those who favour continued and unnecessary spending of ratepayers' money on the Oval. And having regard to the way Tauranga managed to fund an international cricket oval, comparing it to how we're doing it, I think it's time we released Canterbury Cricket from the financial embrace of the City Council. They can well afford to run their own show. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Yanni?
Thank you for your submission. If we'd had this in our draft annual plan last year, as an easily identified project, would you have made a submission to it?
Very likely. I'm a regular visitor. We've submitted on so many things and it just keeps rolling along.
Yeah. And have you had an explanation from staff or from council over what's happening with the Guardians of Hagley Park group, or the, whatever it may be called?
No, it seems to have fallen into a bit of a black hole, and until you can get some, and this is not just hands off Hagley or anything. This is to get an independent group there with decent qualifications, as in landscape architecture, and Naita, who's in there. Get the big picture for Hagley Park, then you'll get some really qualified advice and free advice, and you'll have an oversight which will hopefully stop this sort of indiscriminate spending carrying on.
We do favour this approach, and I think, Phil Clearwater, your committee's been looking at this, haven't you?
Pauline now chairs it, but basically, like the term, as we've said before to Martin, the term guardians has legal connotation for a start, so we would need to look at that. Recently, as everyone is aware, the park staff have been flat out on Port Hill's fire recovery work, and that's probably the major reason that since the last request it hasn't been done. But I guess it's also to ensure that, in fact, groups who might be like an advisory group to the park, in fact they would work in a collaborative way to get the best for the park. That was the basis of the request, my understanding.
So I think that the work is ongoing, but it did get diverted because of the requirement to have our Parks and Rec staff involved in establishing that.
So we would be probably going back to the next committee meeting, yes?
So can we clarify which committee this would be yours now?
Yeah, I
Phil?
thought it would be yours too.
Actually, I think it was a nitty last time, but haven't we? I think we've changed the terms of reference, but perhaps we can get clarification.
Yeah, but we will sort out whichever it is.
I'm not tossing it to you. I mean,
and progress it. But seriously, the Port Hills fire has diverted a lot of attention away from the development of that project. But councillors are absolutely committed to it. It's a much better way to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.